Ho, 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 my beautiful people. How we all doing today? Are we looking for a nice holiday candy that is not only nutritional, but it's natural and very good for your health? Let Santa Skelly show you how I make my Christmas honey drops. Stick around, stay tuned, and I'll show you everything we need to have, what you need to know, and I'm going to tell you why I use each ingredient and why it's nutritional for you. Okay, so let's start with what some of the things that we're going to need to make these honey drops. First thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a small pot. Make sure that it's a heavy bottom pot, something that can take some heat. The candy's going to get real hot, and we're going to be cooking it real hot. So the second thing that we're going to need is you're going to need some molds. Get yourself some candy molds. I like to use these. These are the silicone candy molds. Don't go with the plastic ones because those will melt with this mixture when it's hot, because we're going to be pouring the mixture in when it's hot. So keep that in mind. The other thing too is I don't coat the silicone molds. I use just straight up, and they pop out usually fine at the end. Another thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a candy thermometer. This is how we're going to know when our mixture is ready and we're going to be ready to pour into our molds. If you don't have a candy thermometer, maybe you want to get one. They're not expensive. But if not, you can also use what they call the cold method. The cold method is where you test it. You drop in a little bit of cold water, and if it hardens up real quick, you know that you're ready to pour. So another thing we're going to need is we're going to need a large spoon. I'm using this tablespoon. We're going to be using this to mix up our mixture, but also when we're ready to pour our mixture, I actually use the tablespoon to pour into my molds. Because it's usually about the right, it just gives me a good right amount. It's a good amount. So as far as ingredients and what we're going to need for ingredients. So the first thing that we're going to need is we're going to need 1 cup of honey. If you have honey, the best thing actually is to have local honey if you can get your hands on some local honey, and I'll explain why later. We're also going to need we're going to need a quarter cup of apple cider vinegar, which you see right here. We're going to need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So we got some nice vanilla extract right here. And we're also going to need 12 milliliters of peppermint oil. If you don't have peppermint oil, feel free to check out my peppermint oil video. I actually will include that down below and how to make it. If you don't have it, you can buy peppermint at the store and make it yourself. Or if you would like, you can use a dried, go to the store, get some peppermint leaf, and go with straight peppermint leaf, and that will be fine as well. The last thing that we're going to need is we're going to need 1 cup of dry horehound. Dry horehound is something that's not very, it's not something easily found, but if you do find some horehound, it's good to add in the horehound. You don't need the horehound. It's something that I add as extra. Also, if you're interested in trying the horehound after I explain what horehound does for you, and you can't find it, feel free, contact me below. I grow horehound, and I have tons of it. So if anybody needs any, I have plenty. And feel free to ask me for some. And then one of the things that I like to just keep around, I like to keep around a spatula. Just sometimes you just never know when you're going to need a spatula. So those are the things that we're going to need today. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to get started on this mixture. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create our mixture, which the first thing we need to do is we start off with the honey. Now, the thing about honey is honey has a lot of nice medical benefits to it. You're going to see that the honey that I have is actually very, very thick. Part of this is because this is a honey that my sister makes. It is a local honey. Local honey is good for you, a little better than a store-bought honey, partially because one thing that honey is great for is helping with allergies. And when you have allergies and you use local honey, the bees collect the nectar from a lot of the flowers and the pollination that happens around us, and that's usually what we tend to be allergic to. So when you infuse it into the honey, it helps alleviate some allergies and stuff like that. The other thing that's good with honey is it boosts the immune system. It helps with brain function. It also helps soothe sore throats and improves sleep. It balances out the body, and it also helps control blood sugar, and it also helps with digestion, and it also helps with improving your skin health. So that's one reason why I like honey drops. They're just a good all around source of good nutritional value. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to pour in the 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, and we're going to put that mixture together. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn our stove onto, I tend to kind of go a little on the high end at first. That way what we're going to do is we're going to get this heated up, get this mixed up, mix it up really good. And then once this starts to get to a boil and starts getting hot, we're going to turn down that down to a low temperature and go from there. So we're going to do that. Now, the one thing that a lot of us do know, that apple cider vinegar is good for us for many reasons. We use it for all kinds of things. And when I'm making these honey drops, I'm making them not only as a treat or just a candy in general, but the other nice advantage of what it is that I'm making is they're very good for fighting, flus or colds and things, sore throats, things like that. As you can see, it's Christmas time for us here, and so I usually tend to like to make these in the winter time, and these are a good winter candy, very heavy with a lot of vitamins and nutrients, and they are very good for fighting off colds and flus and things like that. So, and that's one of the things that the apple cider vinegar does. It also helps with weight loss as well. It also reduces your cholesterol. It helps lower blood sugar levels. It also kills bad bacteria. And again, with the apple cider vinegar as well, also helps boost your skin health. So we're going to give this a little bit of time and let this kind of get heated up. It's going to take a little bit to get to a boiling point, but you want to stay around this. This isn't something to put on the stove and let sit and walk away from. The reason is when we're doing this, there's going to be a lot of things that happen really quick, and you need to be there. And so what happens is when this gets to a boiling point, we're going to want to turn that temperature down really quick, because if we let it boil too much, then we're going to start burning that honey in the sugars in the honey, which we don't want to do. We want to keep it so that we don't get that burnt taste. It's starting to get to a warm temperature, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn down my mixture, and I'm about down halfway. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install my candy thermometer. And when you do this, make sure you have a nice candy thermometer. I will give you a fair warning. Some people tend to try to get away with the glass candy thermometers. I like the metal one, and the reason is because prior to buying this metal one, I had a glass one. I had it sitting in a mixture that I was making, and the glass broke. And when that broke, obviously your whole recipe gets thrown away. So we don't want that to happen. So I like to use this metal one. And so now we've come to a point where I'm starting to get a little bit of bubbling. You're going to see that this is going to start to really start to foam and bubble. So be very careful. If you got a spoon or something with a longer handle, feel free to use that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep stirring, and try to keep this so that it doesn't boil over, because that's what will happen if you don't. If you walk away from this mixture, it's going to start to bubble and boil and foam, and next thing you know, it's all over your stove. So I'm just going to keep stirring this. And I don't know if you can see, but you should be able to see it see it gets real foamy, see it start to foam a little bit. So I'm going to turn it down a little, and we're just going to keep stirring. Now by stirring, what you're doing is you're kind of keeping it from boiling over a little bit. And as you see, it's getting really, really foamy on me, which is okay. We're just going to turn down the temperature, but you don't want to rush this at all. If you try to heat this up and heat it up really quick, you end up burning the sugars. You end up boiling it over. You end up getting a burnt flavor in your candy. So we don't want any of that to happen. So just to let you know, if for some reason this does start to heat up on you really quick, and you kind of lose a little bit of control, you can slide this off to the side and just let it cool down for a second, and then bring it back into the heat again. That's one way of, as you see, just for that quick second, all that foam just went away. It's gonna come right back. Now these candies, you can do whatever way you want to do them. If you like a nice soft honey drop, you can go a little bit lower, and temperature wise, you're gonna get to the softer one, which is around like 275, I believe. I'm going to be making a hard candy. I like it a little on the harder end. So I'm going to be bringing my mixture to what we call the crack temperature, which is basically about 310 degrees, I believe. I have a marker on my thermometer, so I just wait until it hits that point. So we're just going to keep going. One thing you can always do too is, if you do have a thermometer, pre-check your thermometer prior. Boil some water on your stove and put the thermometer in there and see if it matches. Sometimes they can be slightly off. I know when I first started, my old candy thermometer was always off by 10 degrees. So I always had to calculate for that. And the reason I knew it was off by 10 degrees is I stuck it in boiling water and it was 10 degrees off. So you can do that by testing that method. Okay, as you can see, it's really starting to bubble and froth. That usually means you're really close to your temperature, so check it then. I'm right at the 300 mark. So I usually, like I say, that's the crack point for hard candy. I like to go a little above, because now what we're going to do is we're going to let this cool down a little bit for a second. And so one thing that you're going to want to do that's always good to do, is fill your sink up with some hot soapy water. Because one of the things that you're going to want to do is get this. Once you finish with a utensil or your pot or your whatever that we use to make this, you're going to want to get it in some hot soapy water right away. It makes it a lot easier to clean, because once this hardens, it can be very difficult to clean. So now you see that we got it. The froth is kind of come down a little bit. Now here's where we're going to add in our 12 milligrams of the peppermint. If you haven't watched my peppermint video, peppermint has a lot of wonderful benefits as far as boosting the immune system. It helps upset stomachs. I'm going to give that a quick little stir. It helps relieve headaches and kills germs and eases sinuses. Helps boost energy. It eases cramps. There's so many things that peppermint does. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful herb. I tend to tell people you can never have enough peppermint. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our horehound. Now I get dried horehound. I'm going to mix it right in. I have my horehound. I had it dry. I dried it up, and then what I do is I crumple it up really, really fine, and then I use my pistol mortar and grind it up into almost a powder. So I'm going to mix that in, and so horehound is a strange thing. A lot of people haven't heard of it. I'm going to just keep stirring that in. But horehound helps with your digestion, helps clean out your lungs, and improves liver and gallbladder. It also helps with your breathing issues, helps with menstrual cramps. So I'm going to take my thermometer out because we don't need this anymore. And I'm going to keep mixing. So we're going to mix that right in and get that mixed in. Now, don't be too alarmed by the color. Everybody's color can come out different according to the type of honey you use, the color of your honey, and stuff like that. So the last thing that we're going to add is, like I said, we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm just going to pop a little in. And again, honey, vanilla extract is also has some good. Now you're gonna see it bubble up. That's why I put it in last. Ooh, wow, what a nice smell. And what we're gonna do is just keep stirring this up, get it stirred up really nice, get everything mixed up really, really nice. But don't do too long, because as this is cooling down, it's gonna start to harden on us. So you can keep your pot near your burner. If it does start to harden up on you or get a little too cool on you, you can pop it back on the burner real quick and get it heated up a little bit. But I'm going to keep mixing this and get this mixed up really well. But vanilla extract, actually, the one thing that's nice with vanilla extract, a lot of people don't think about it as a healthy thing. But it does help. It helps cell damage. It also helps as an anti-inflammatory. It improves brain health, as well as it's a powerful antioxidant. It's got a lot of antioxidants in it. So those are the benefits of vanilla extract. So now I'm pretty close to where the mixture is what I want it to have, where everything's all mixed in. I can see the horehounds all mixed in nice. So now I'm going to start to pour this into my molds. Some people like to do it quick and just pour it in and then kind of take a spatula and spread it over. I tend to do it, like I said, with the spoon. And as I put this in each one, you know, my spoon fills just exactly one of the candy molds. So I usually do a couple scoops, get it right in there, and because I had the dry horehound in here, I do tend to kind of mix it up every once in a while, just to get that horehound mixed up, so you're not constantly, it's not settling on the bottom. So we're just going to fill up these molds, just like so, as you can see. Then once we're done, what we're going to do is we're going to take the molds and we're going to put them in our fridge. And you're going to want to leave them in your fridge for a couple hours. I'm going to finish this up. That's the last one right there. And so there we go. So I'm going to take and I'm going to put these and put them in my freezer for a couple hours. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what to do for the last step. Okay? So I'll see you guys in a couple hours. Okay, welcome back everyone. It's now been a couple hours and our honey drops should be fairly set. And so like I said, there's two ways that you can go about doing the next step. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is take your mold and flip it over. And we're going to pop our pieces out. And as you can see, we get some nice, clean colorful pieces. And so we're just going to go and pop all these pieces out. Okay, so now we have our pieces out like that. And if you want to keep them just like this, that's fine. The only thing I'll suggest is if you're going to put them in a candy tin, lay them out flat, then put a piece of parchment paper over, and then you can do the second layer. If you start stacking them, what happens is if, you know, the temperature changes at all or they get warm, they'll tend to kind of stick together. They even when they're in the cracked state of hard candy, they can still stick together. So the other thing that you can do with these as well that adds a little more, another flavor to it, or allows you to actually keep them like what I like to keep them in a bag usually, or when I package them up, they get thrown in a bag. So I throw them in a plastic bag like this, and I just throw a few at a time, shake them up, put a little. So this is confectionery sugar. You know, I just kind of coat them like that so they're nice and coated. And then I'll throw a couple more in, or the rest in. And then give it a shake up. And what that does is the confectionery sugar allows it so they don't stick together even if they kind of soften up a little bit. But like I said too, it also adds a little extra flavor. So there we go, my friends. We have some nice and healthy, naturally made honey drops. They're good for, like, if you're feeling under the weather, if you feel like you got a cold or a flu coming on. Those are some of the things that they can be used for. So I want to say thank you all. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you guys all enjoy your holidays. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year as well. And also do me a favor. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button down below. And you can also share this video with your friends, other people who enjoy cooking candy or making their own candies, or want to have a natural cough drop that's good for them. As well as, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. There's going to be more things like this coming. We're going to be doing some more treats and more dog behavior and more natural medicines and things like that. So again, enjoy your holidays and see you in the next video.